Hi, and welcome to Two Tired Teachers. Today I'm going to be replacing the propane regulator on the fifth wheel here. And the two reasons I'm going to do this is, one is it will register that the propane is out, and whenever I take the tank out it's really heavy. Obviously there's still propane in there. And then the second is we during the summer stay with water and electric sites. So we're always running the refrigerator off of electricity. Well, we ran into a situation where the electricity in the campground really was not dependable, so we switched it over to propane, and the refrigerator was still coolish, but it wasn't cold like it had been running on electricity. So those two things let me know that probably got a problem with the flow of propane. So what I am going to need for this is a new regulator. Now, let me explain to you why I went with this regulator. That's because it matches the regulator that's in there. And I had read some reviews that of some different regulators, and they were talking about having to build a bracket to make it go back in and fix it. So decided, since my bracket building skills were not that great, I would go on and try and make this as simple as possible and get one that that looked like it should be an easy, as easy as possible replacement. The other thing is some gas tested tape, and the principle is basically the same as plumber's tape, that nylon tape that you wrap around when you do any plumbing, except this is tested for gas. I did hear some folks saying they had used the water. Personally, I'm not going to risk that. I'm going to go with something that it's actually made for the job. So first thing I'm going to do is make sure that the propane is off on both tanks, and I'm going to remove this one just to make easier access to get to that. Okay, I am simply unscrewing the tank from the bracket that secures it in the RV, unscrewing the hose from the tank, and forgetting that there's a brace that holds it in, and then removing the tank. Next, I took the plastic cover off the front and then removed the bracket that's holding it in the RV so that I have a little bit more room to work with, because it's really close space in here. And now I will remove the bracket from the back of the regulator that I'm taking out. And the hoses that come in on the sides of the regulator, those are actually inflows, so that takes the propane from the tanks into the regulator. The one on bottom then is the outflow, and I will tell you, it took a lot of time and WD-40 to get these things where they would be loose enough to come undone. It's really awkward because that hose, you're having to kind of twist it in order to get it loose enough to get it out. Just regular wrenches didn't do it for me. I had to go and get the vice grip and channel locks, but ultimately got the regulator out. And with the new regulator, well, before I got the new regulator, go in and make sure that you get all of the old tape, anything that may be on the hoses. I went in and took my time to make sure I get all of the tape, the old tape off, wiped them down really well, made sure that they were all clean. You don't want anything that can possibly interfere with the flow of the propane. So wipe the ends of your hoses, make sure they are good and clear. Then once again, the gas tested tape, went and just wrapped it on, and then you'll notice there that it looks like I'm trying to screw that on. What that does is it gets it inside of the threads on the hoses, and it makes them screw in a little bit better, and it holds the tape in place as you're mounting the other one. Okay, on the new one, took the plastic cover off. That's just decoration. And then you can see that I realized that there are adapters that came on the end of the new regulator. So went and got my tools and got those loosened up, just simply took them off, and now I'm ready to attach this. I will tell you, it took some doing to do. I attached the outflow hose first, and that one's pretty simple and straightforward. That inside, that inflow side, I twisted the hose backwards to get it to where I would be able to screw it in. I will tell you that I made a mistake, screwed it in the wrong side, had to go back and redo it, so please avoid that mistake. Once I get those two on, because those are the two that are the most awkward to do, I decided to go on and put the bracket on the back of the new regulator, and I simply used the bracket that I took the old one off, and so that it would line up exactly. So I took I did use the screws that came with the new regulator, and also they had some little washers that I used. So I reattached the bracket on the back of the new regulator, and then once I got it good and tightened down, I would then reattached the bracket inside of the RV. And once that's done, the hose on this side is easy access, and it's going to turn easily. So now I have the new regulator with the hoses in place. Okay, this in reality is a straightforward, simple process. You're simply unscrewing these things and screwing the new ones in with some gas tape on there. But just like anything with an RV, you're dealing in a very, very, very limited space. And a couple of things that I learned that, let me just warn you up front. You may not need this, but having a bottle of water handy, two things that keeps you hydrated. But because you're getting this at such awkward angles, honestly, several times I would just stop and say, okay, this way loosens, this way tightens, and hold it the angle that I needed it to go, and just kind of help me keep going the direction I needed to. Obviously, I needed to change tools and get channel locks, I think are what these called, so that I had a little bit more torque behind what I was doing, and that helped tremendously. I will tell you one mistake I made so that you can avoid it, and that is the far side I screwed in on the near side, and then I had to go back and redo that. So be a little bit more careful about that than I was, because you're getting kind of hot and tired, and so that'll save you a little bit of time. Okay, as you can see, I have reinstalled the propane tank and secured it. Then you flip the regulator on and very slowly turn the propane on. Yes, the regulator's off in this position. I did these in the wrong order, but the order you should do it in is flip that to the side you want the propane fed through. Slowly turn it on. Then take some soapy water and you're going to spray on every single connection. And do three things actually. Listen to see if you can hear anything hissing or flowing. If you smell anything, or if you see any suds, you know that you have a leak and you're going to have to go back and retighten that. And you can see this now shows there's propane. This tank was showing empty on the old regulator, so I have success in knowing that I now have a better flow of propane. Thanks for watching Two Tired Teachers.